Throne and Liberty. I've been waiting on this for a while.
Throne and Liberty is still one of, if not the best looking MMO slated for 2023. Now, admittedly, the list of competition is short, with only a few other MMOs tentatively planned for the year. Those being Blue Protocol,
I think Blue Protocol looks great, personally.
Valhalla Rising, and Ashfall, which, if I'm speaking frankly, Blue Protocol is the only
like
decent-looking one of that bunch. But even if competition is light, it doesn't really matter, because I genuinely think there's some really cool things about Throne and Liberty. They've said it's going to be a third-person hybrid action combat MMO, which looks to mean we're probably going to be getting a soft lock system that blends action and tab targeting, kind of like what we see in Guild Wars 2 and Elder Scrolls Online. The game's primary focus...
Yeah, I'm very much of an advocate of having tab targeting in games for auto attacks, but making you aim your big spells. I think that's the way that a lot of these games should play.
Beyond challenging cooperative PvE, we've seen stuff like these non-instanced.
I also think that in like raids and stuff like that, if it doesn't make sense, you shouldn't have to aim the spell. Like, I think aiming only really matters in PvP. Like, whenever I play New World and I have to aim every single cast whenever I would play with the Fire Staff, this was more work and it was annoying. I didn't like it.
World, multi-layered dungeons where you can go deep in and just like have people running all over the place and stuff. It sounds really cool. A bunch of big boss battles with what we've seen like being hundreds of players on the screen. There's also going to be various types of PvP, including open world with a PK system, some smaller scale things like arenas, and even these large 100+ player castle sieges with these giant golems smashing through walls. They've also got some really cool dynamic features, particularly with the weather and day-night cycles that directly affect the environment, with like areas flooding when it rains, becoming inaccessible, or giving you access to new spots, or enemies getting stronger during storms, stuff like that. But on top of that,
I think that the weather system is always like, whenever a game has a system like this where they try to change things up, like obviously like for many years I made a lot of guide videos on how to like exploit stuff in games. So I always think about the ways that this can be taken advantage of and the ways people will actually adapt to certain types of gameplay. Because usually, like, the ideal and, like, the way that the developer feels like players will interact with a system or a certain type of design isn't actually what they do.
Weather is also going to alter player spells and attacks, like we've seen the Wizard's Lightning Bolt, which during a clear day is single target, but then when it rains, it turns into a chain lightning. It also looks like there's going to be a lot of different traversal systems, like your player can mantle and climb a lot of stuff in the environment. We're going to have access to a grapple hook, letting us zip around, and pretty much everyone in the game plays as a druid, as it features this transforming into animals to increase your land, sea, and air movement speed. So yeah, like I said, there's just a lot of cool systems and features with the game, and that is only like the bullet point preview of everything we know about Throne and Liberty at the moment, much of which sounds really cool. I'm really looking forward to jumping in and trying the game myself. Now, since our last Throne and Liberty video, which was back in December, there's been quite a few updates for the game, between a few rounds of alpha testing, out of which came some interesting leaks, but then also we had some official announcements, including the Western release window that looks to be just a few months away. And you know,
what the fuck? They're gonna release this in a few months? Holy shit. There's no way. Yeah, like if that happens, I don't even know how I'm going to react. Oh my God, Atlas incoming? Yeah.
You know what? While you're waiting those few months to play a new MMO, why not check out an MMO that's playable right now? Such as today's sponsor, Dragonair Silent Gods. This is an open-world, high-fantasy role-playing game that will be available on mobile and PC.
Well, imagine if it was that same other game.
To character collection and development, the game features grid-based combat, differentiated sandbox exploration, and seasonal social gameplay. They've officially partnered with Wizards and will be featuring iconic characters and gameplay features from the world of Dungeons and Dragons. The game's got D&D and TRPG-like elements with dice checks and treasure hunts, a gorgeous sandbox high fantasy world to explore with tons of free exploration as you complete non-linear missions and side quests, solving puzzles, fishing, cooking, gathering.
What was the first thing that made mimics? Was it Dungeons and Dragons?
resources, and of course the combat, which is tactical.
Yeah, I remember I talked to you guys about that.
So if you're interested in checking out Dragonair Silent Gods, go ahead and use my link in the video description below, and if you pre-register, you'll get some in-game goodies. All right, so let's jump into all of the new stuff with Throne and Liberty. First, I want to start off with some of the official news and announcements. So back in January, NC announced that they would soon be conducting one of the final rounds of testing for Throne and Liberty, and that anyone living in South Korea could register to play. The test servers would be live on February 21st and 22nd, lasting for roughly 5 hours each one of those days. And from my understanding, this wasn't one of those like Korean tests that you could just sign up with a VPN, because apparently the testing would all be done locally at participating locations in Korea. So this was a very much so localized event. Then it
reminds me of whenever I got fucking banned in Blue Protocol.
In mid-February, during NCSoft's financial reportings call, they held a Q&A with investors that revealed some pretty big details about their plans for the game. First, confirming that the final round of Korean testing was taking place later that month, after which they said a global marketing campaign would begin ramping up. They then said they would be launching...
That means they need to sponsor me.
The game at some point in the first half of 2023, which would mean anywhere between right now and sometime in June or early July, and that another company...
Well, there's no way this shit comes out in 2 months, man. There's no way. That would be insane.
Would be in charge of launching the game in the West. Following that, on February 20th, they tweeted out that that final round of testing was taking place in just a couple of days. This was like their first really public-facing announcement of this test. And the final bit of this tweeted out announcement said that we should stay tuned for more information sometime soon. And it turns out that information, which was revealed just a few days later, was the news that Amazon Games would be the one publishing Throne and Liberty, continuing Amazon's recent, dare I call it an obsession or just involvement with the MMO genre from their...
Yeah, they've already got Blue Protocol, they've also got Lost Ark, and they have New World, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to be completely out on Amazon. I don't know. I mean, as I said, I think the problems with Lost Ark are fundamental. Those are problems with Smilegate. Like Lost Ark, like Amazon didn't tell Smilegate to make you do 2 Guardian raids on each character a day. They didn't do that. Smilegate decided to do that.
Very own developed and published New World, but then also the publishing of Lost Ark, the announced publishing of Blue Protocol, and now they are also publishing Throne and Liberty. Now, taking a look at the official announcement on Amazon page,
I think this game will probably have pay-for-convenience features. I don't think it's going to have hard pay-to-win. I feel like the odds are that they might go pay-to-win maybe like a year or 2 years after the game is out. Because at that point, obviously, they'll have everybody invested into it and they can kind of make a lot of money off of the game before they kill it with pay to win eventually. Like, if I were them, that's what I would do. I don't think it's going to have hard pay to win on release.
Amazon's page does give us a few more details about all of this. So it says Amazon Games and NCSoft today announced an agreement to bring massively multiplayer online RPG Throne and Liberty to North America, South America, Europe, and Japan. Amazon Games will publish the title for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and X, and it will support cross-platform play. And I do believe this is the first time I have seen that cross-platform play is going to be a thing, which I think is really cool because it just opens up the potential player base all playing on the same servers.
I'm a very big advocate of cross-platform play. Anytime that people can play together, that's good.
On, it says here that Throne and Liberty is a MMO RPG that combines story-driven adventure and action combat, further driving into the action portion of this. Although from early testing, it does seem like there is a strong tab target emphasis. I am just going to conclude from all of this, from all of the tab target discussion, everything we've seen that looked like tab target, and the action combat being brought up here and in other places, that yeah, it's going to be like that hybrid system, that soft lock system. So think ESO, think Guild Wars 2. That's what I'm assuming here. They say in Throne and Liberty, players enter a vast world with constantly shifting geographical and environmental features that change the course of play. This undoubtedly referring to the fact that the weather changes the actual environment, opening up and restricting access to certain areas.
We'll see how this actually
really
plays.
Cool stuff. In fact, in one of the videos we've seen, we saw that during a rainstorm, it like activated this magical rune system, which opened the entrance to the stone.
I mean, I think that's really cool. Straight up, this looks really cool that you can go and unlock things like this. That's badass.
Dungeon. They're showing some really cool stuff here when it comes to how the environment plays into the gameplay experience that I just think it's pretty cool. It says massive scale PvP and PvE combat are fundamental to Throne and Liberty, and players can transform into animals, soaring through the air or exploring the depths of the sea, even tipping the odds of battle in their favor by triggering powerful environmental effects like solar eclipses or rainstorms, which again plays into the fact that we've got the day-night cycle, we've got rain and stuff, the rain, the storms, a gust of winds, all of those things that, yes, players will be able to influence themselves, be it through really rare gear or special abilities with long cooldowns, which I believe is specifically what we have heard. And then finally,
again, I am very skeptical about something like this. I am extremely skeptical. I know how people play games like this, and I know the kind of people that play games like this. We'll see.
Wrapping it up, it says that Throne and Liberty continues Amazon Games' momentum in games publishing, following the success of its internally developed MMO New World and action RPG Lost Ark from Smilegate, both of which have internally developed MMO New World and
Whatever happened to this guy? This is the first video I ever saw for Lost Ark. And we never fought this boss. Apparently they took it out of the game? What the fuck? No, not Thorpe, the dragon. I think his name was Kaiser or Kaiser or something like that.
Action RPG Lost Ark from Smilegate, both of which have topped Steam and Twitch charts and continue to nurture strong player communities. I will wholeheartedly agree with them that yes, both of those games did in fact top charts, like some very impressive numbers, launch day numbers, concurrent player number peaks. Both of those games really did phenomenally when it comes to drawing initial interest. As to how they have maintained their player bases, the health of those games currently, it seems like both of them are pretty much in sharp decline, somewhere between 90 to 95% of reduction in peak player count from what they saw at launch. Although I think Lost Ark has maintained higher steady numbers. There's also the other side of that where a good chunk of those might be people multi-boxing or just all of the bots that are evidently rampant in that game. But regardless, I can't take it away. We can't take away from Amazon the fact that they have launched games that saw some pretty phenomenal early success. And then also, I want to point out, whatever problems you may have with Lost Ark as a game, it seems like Amazon's handling of the publishing of this game that was developed by another company, how the publishing in the West was done, seems like they did a pretty good job. So with that said,
they haven't. Like, the way that they released, for example, Argos was really bad. The way that they released, I think, Vulcan, Vicus, and Belshazzar, I think, was pretty good. Some of the ways that they, like recently, the giving all the players Phaons and then taking them away, I think that was really bad. Like, there have been some goods and some bads, but there have been very bads, too.
I'm fairly confident that any of the problems that we may end up having with Throne and Liberty, I don't think Amazon will be the ones at fault there. As to how they've handled New World, I think it's a decent game that probably just needed a lot more content and some more interesting systems.
Some of the fundamentals of New World are bad. Like farming out the same piece of gear with one different ward stat 5 times and then farming out dungeons time and time again, over and over and over, so you can upgrade it just because of some weird mechanical fucking thing that if you have a low item level, these mobs just one-shot you. Like, it's such a fucking gamey system. It's just dog shit. It's dog shit. It doesn't make any sense. It sucks.
worlds. And maybe they're getting there. I really haven't kept up with New World in the past few months. But regardless, let's get back into the Throne and Liberty discussion. So all of that official stuff, you know, it's pretty cool. We know now, at the very least, to recap, we know they should be releasing the game at some point in the first half of 2023. They're running out of time here, but that's the current schedule, and that Amazon will be the ones publishing, which, as I just said, I don't think is a negative. There are a lot worse publishers of Eastern MMOs coming to the West that we know could have taken this over, and I think Amazon...
I feel like almost every fucking publisher has a bad reputation. I mean, you have a few exceptions, but for the most part, everybody's like, oh no, not EA. Oh no, not Activision. Oh no, not Nexon. Oh, Tencent. Oh god, FromSoft. Well, they're kind of like, I think they're published by Bandai Namco. And Bandai Namco, I feel like, is pretty good, but they're one of the exceptions.
Is probably the one who's done the best of it so far. What's more interesting is some of the leaked information. In particular, that event that took place in February, that Korean local specific hands-on playtest. We got some leaked information out of that, basically recapping some of what people thought about their time with the game. Now, evidently this test was incredibly small. It was said that somewhere around 100 people were invited to try it out during these couple of days. And one of the general consensus when it comes to what the game is like is, it was said that it feels like a combination of Lineage, World of Warcraft, The Witcher, and Lost Ark. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it. Obviously, the game has a Lineage heritage because that is the franchise that...
Oh yeah, I forgot all about this. Yeah, this game was supposed to be Lineage, and then they just renamed it.
Throne and Liberty, TNL, Project TL, that is where it comes from. World of Warcraft for maybe the modern day systems, Witcher for maybe the setting and visuals, and Lost Ark, maybe the monetization scheme. I don't know, possible. Some highlights here from this leaked thread that came via a Twitter post. They said that while the game is cross-platform, it does have a very strong PC feeling to it, which is good to hear as far as I'm concerned. Visuals were said to be pretty strong. It looks good, the game looks good, and that pretty much pans out from what I've seen in the trailers. Maybe a little generic looking, but I do think the visuals and some of what they've shown looks pretty awesome. They said that NC has in fact put a big focus on the story. Personally, not that big of a deal to me.
I think focusing on the story in an MMO is a mistake. Most people don't play MMOs for the story. It doesn't really fucking matter. Like, in Final Fantasy, like, okay, so, all right, well, there's that one game, right? There's that one game. Do people give a shit about the story in World of Warcraft? Yes, but no, not really. But they do, kind of, because it's been around so long. Did they give a shit about the story in Lost Ark? No. Did they give a shit about the New World story? No. Did they give a shit about the RuneScape story? As far as I know, the answer is no. Let's see. I think those are the only ones that I've like really played a lot and I like really know. BDO story, yeah, the BDO story. Do people care about that? And as far as I know, they don't know. They don't care.
Not really what I come to the MMO genre for, but for people who are looking for a good story in their MMOs, it seems like NC might deliver. And then they said that there looks to be a lot of solo potential for this game, which is absolutely like the lifeblood of the MMO genre. I know
if you can't play the game solo, it's a dead game.
Massively multiplayer online, it's in the name, right? But far as I know, a good chunk of the people who play MMOs like to play solo.
That's
at least
why WoW
some
was
of
so
the time,
successful.
if not all of the time,
play solo.
barring content that requires groups. I know just personally, I spend a lot of my MMO time mostly doing stuff solo and then finding groups for the things that require groups. So good to hear that Throne and Liberty is going to have solo potential. Now, one thing that came from this that is probably going to raise some eyebrows was this is a translation, keep in mind, and translations don't always translate. It's just the nature of different languages. But it was said that there is automatic hunting in the game. To me, this sounds like what it's supposed to say is auto combat. And to further support this notion, some of the leaked videos that have come out from testing over these past few months, there's been leaks. I'm not going to show it here because that'll get this video taken down. But yes, we have seen auto combat. If you don't know, Auto-playing is something that is common in many Eastern-developed MMOs, and it's basically, in the game, you can hit a button and your character does all of the things for you. It engages in combat, it does its rotating spells, it uses things on cooldowns, they're games that play yourself, and it seems like it might be the case that
I feel like, so here's the thing with auto-battling, is like any content that you can effectively auto-battle is like super easy throwaway content. So at a certain point, what is the value of having content that you can auto battle? Like why does this exist? It's like a very weird, like it's just like it's filler content. Like, okay, well, I'm going to leave my game on. So auto combat, like it will literally, it's like botting. Straight up, it's like botting. Like I had there's this game I played, Tower of Fantasy. I would literally hit a button and my character would play itself. That's it. Early game combat that becomes outdated and irrelevant? Yeah, maybe. But I just don't really think that it matters that much. If you have like if you have content that you have autoplay for, the odds are that content is trash content. So why even have it in the first place? It's almost like if you have content that's easy and brainless and pointless enough for it to be auto battle content, why is it there?
Liberty is going to have auto combat, and some of the complaints that
were, for example, like let's say for Gathering, like let's say you can auto hunt or you can auto kill mobs or something like that. Why not just retune the game to where people that play the game get bigger rewards? So the expectation is not to be auto battling 24/7. Like it's silly.
Coming out of this early testing was the fact that, hey, auto hunting is not fun, which, I don't want a game that plays itself. I mean, there's, the auto chess games were kind of cool. I like those.
I don't really care if they add it. Like, I really don't give a fuck. Because if they add auto battling, then the odds are it's just going to be brain dead content that doesn't matter. I remember in BDO, you had like, I think it was like auto fishing or something like that. And you would go to town and there'd be like a massive line of people fishing. And like, it didn't really hurt the game or change anything or matter. It was like, okay, this is here. Who gives a fuck? But I feel like it's such a weird paradox.
But that's not what I want out of my MMOs, and it also has me concerned that the basic combat will be dumbed down enough that auto hunting is even a viable option, which, I don't think I was necessarily expecting crazy in-depth difficult combat where you were just on the verge of death with every pull. That's not what I was expecting from Throne and Liberty. That's not what I expect from most MMOs, especially most Eastern developed MMOs. A lot of it is just like smashing through hordes of enemies. In most of the games in the genre nowadays, that's just kind of how it is. The presence of auto hunting and the fact that this game is
one time, and this is the thing, right, is that you have like fucking easy content and hard content. There was one time my friend Zach and I walked up to his house because he's like, do you want to get Jack in the Box? And I'm like, yeah. So I go up to his house and I walk in and he literally just got a queue for fucking RBGs. And I'm like, bro, you ready to go? And he's like, yeah, man, let me just turn on the bot. just turns on the bot. And we go to the fucking store. We come back, he lost. Like, he massively lost. Everybody's like messaging him like, go fucking kill yourself, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. And it's just like, whatever, we'll queue up again. That's it.
is going to be playable on phones, which, to clarify, it's not going to have a phone version of the game, but there will be a streaming service that lets you play the game on mobile devices. And even just the fact that that is a reality. Yes, the game is going to have a way to play it on the phones. It just won't be a phone app, if that distinction makes any sense or matters at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not a phone game hater. Fortnite is a phone game. Fortnite is an incredible game. Genshin Impact is a phone game. It seems to be an incredible game.
I'm pretty confident from these leaks, from the fact that there's going to be a phone version of the game, and from the leaks before these leaks, the actual gameplay we've seen, that there's going to be auto combat in this game, and maybe just the presence of that is enough to put people off.
I think that people will reflexively dislike that. Obviously they will. But, I mean, to me, I want to actually play it and see what it's really like. Like, yeah, obviously it can look a certain way, but what is it really like?
Absolutely. Don't love it. I don't want, that's not the news I was hoping to hear. And then the last bit of info that came from this leaked thread was said that there was this system in the game called Magic Doll that boosts experience and drop rates. Now, there were no details as to what this Magic Doll...
I wonder how you get that. Anybody got any ideas? I will say that for a live service game, an optional thing like the crystalline aura in Lost Ark, I don't find is a problem. I actually do not find that to be problematic if it is binary. You either have this or you don't have it. Because it allows people to effectively have a subscription to a game while at the same time not requiring everybody to have one. You buy it from me? Yeah, probably. And to be for Lost Ark's free to play? Yeah, exactly. Sounds like something you need to earn by doing a hard task in the game. Oh, for sure, man. It's an optional subscription. Yeah, there you go.
System was, if it was like a buff that you could get in the game, if it was a consumable, in which case we might assume that that would be tied to the cash shop. There was no further extrapolation as to this, just it was said Magic Doll is a thing and it boosts experience and drop rates.
Yeah, sure, so it's probably going to be some sort of an item.
A bit concerning, some of the stuff here. In particular, there was also some discussion about how it seems like the game is going to be heavily monetized, which I guess shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. Now, there was another leak that just happened yesterday as of this recording. Basically, this was a screen grab of what looked to be the alpha for Throne and Liberty here in the Western version. This was specifically on an Amazon website. The quote here is, after an exciting announcement in February, the Amazon Games team invites Amazonians, I believe that's just people who work for Amazon, to alpha test Throne and Liberty between April 4th and April 9th. So this was a leaked, it wasn't even a real screenshot, it was a photo of...
I work for Amazon, I fucking work at Twitch, right? Well, I'm an independent contractor, so I guess I just get fucked, right?
A screen.
Fuck you, Jeff Bezos.
How verifiable is this? I'm not
you.
Sure. There are sources that I've heard that this is in fact something that's happening right now, because right now, as I'm recording this, it is April 4th. So apparently there might be an Amazon Games alpha test of Throne and Liberty taking place at the moment. And if that is in fact the case, if that's happening, I would expect at some point within the next couple of weeks some leaks to come out of this as well, because that's just how it is. Even with these heavy NDAs, we always end up seeing leaks. So to wrap things up here, I want to say that yes, I am looking forward to this game. As I mentioned on the top, I think it's cool to have a new MMO, but
for me, I always try out new games, and this is something that I've tried to do. I've tried to play new games and see what it's like, because in almost every game there are a few good things in the game, and the more games I play, the more I know.
As much as I am excited for it, I have to keep reminding myself that this is a game developed by NCSoft, and for that reason, we should 100%, without question, expect a big old cash shop full of some variations of pay to win, time savers, boost, currency exchanging, outfits with huge quality of life buffs, you name it, it'll probably be in there. Ultimately, though, the way I feel...
So yeah, that's definitely true. I think that you can probably expect to see some sort of store or something like that. Like, there's gonna probably be... Here is what the really bad pay to win is. It's whenever you can spend $500 but somebody else spends $5,000 and they're better than you. I don't think having to spend, let's say, $20 on stash tabs for PoE or $100 on stash tabs for PoE, I don't think that really matters that much. But the issue is whenever pay to win is uncapped. Like the person who spends 5,000 is weaker than the person who spends 10,000. And the person who spends 10,000 is weaker than this person who spends 20. Like if there's a few things that you can buy for the game and it's like a fucking experience boost, it's some fucking bullshit, like basically a subscription to the game, I'm really not going to lose my mind over this. But open-ended pay-to-win systems are what really kills games. And that's the worst thing. Everything else is much more stomach. Like it's easier to deal with.
Feel about this is I will be happy if we get a good month or two of fun from the game. Exactly. I'm really not expecting
I'll play the
too
game
much
for maybe
more.
A month,
that tells you where my
sucks,
expectations are, at least when it comes for a lot of
Fuck,
Easter.
Dude, if I play the game on day one and it sucks, I might not play it on day two. I think that's how everybody should look at things. Why the fuck would they cap how much you can whale? That's the point. Because I guess like, yeah, that's one reason, but also it's like, I'm talking about like what would make a game like more fun or what I would like more. I think there's many games that are massively profitable that do cap how much money you can whale, right? And how much money you can spend.
Developed MMOs in particular. It's just this very narrow genre of games that it just always seems to be heavy pay to win. And so much of that has spilled over into everything that's Western developed as well. This isn't specific to like Eastern develops MMOs, with but a few rare exceptions. Most modern day new MMOs have all of that stuff as well. But regardless,
I think pretty much all of them are going to have stuff like that because number one, I've said before, right? I mean, like, it costs a lot of money to make a game. It costs money to keep the servers up. It costs money to pay the developers to continue updating the game. All of these things cost money. How are they going to make that money? Well, they have little cosmetics and little, convenience features that you can buy in the game. And obviously this sucks, but many people, the truth is, would actually prefer that in terms of like how many people would play a game. Would prefer that versus paying a subscription for a game. I think that asking people to pay a subscription for a game is an antiquated idea.
Here's the deal. If this comes out and I can sit down and experience a new world and play with all those people, enjoy that hype around launch and going out and discover new things and taking on these challenges and play up until the point that I'm fed up with all of the game's garbage and the whatever that entails, I'm fine with that. That's about all I expect. And there's so many games out there, way too many games than we can even reasonably play. It's fine, whatever. I'll take what I can get from this thing. As an MMO fan, I am anemic.
Whenever the game comes out, we try it out, and if it sucks, that's it. Sub seems better to me, but I'm not retarded. The problem is that you might not really understand how many people don't have $15. It's that simple. There is a lot of people that don't have $15 to spend. So they don't want to play it, or they don't have $15 to risk. Maybe they do have the money, but they don't want to play a game. They don't want to pay $15 to maybe log back into a game to check out an update. They want to be able to log back in, and if they're having fun, buy the battle pass or something like that. That's just how gaming is now. I personally wish that we could go back to subs, but look at WoW. WoW has subs, and guess what? They still fucking have microtransactions.
Comes to just give me more, right? Give me something else, give me something new. I need something fresh. Come on, please help brother out here. As for the release, like I said, Throne and Liberty is still, as of now, planned and said to be launching in the first half of 2023. Now, during a recent shareholder meeting, they were asked about this, and their response was that they're coordinating the release date with Amazon. So it sounds like the ball is just in their court. My guess is Amazon is currently focused on the localization as well as a release timing, trying to find a window where there isn't.
I really hope they do a better job with the localization versus Lost Ark. I think the Lost Ark voice acting was fucking horrible. Like, it was absolutely just, it was so bad. Like, in the main raid, like, this is Vicus. In Vicus Gate 3, Wei, who's like the guy that's helping you kill the boss, refers to Vicus as he. It is literally a big titty booba girl. It's so lazy and bad. Vicus's Desire, yes, it's just crazy, man.
Competition. You know, June is going to be a pretty big month, especially, you know, Diablo 4 is launching. You might not think they're competitors, but they are absolutely competitors. There is certainly a huge crossover in the Venn diagram of Diablo 4 players and MMO fans. And then there's also the Diablo players who hate MMOs, but don't worry about them.
Yeah, that's
they're probably
video.
not watching this channel, right? But yeah, anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know if they're actually going to hit that first half or not, especially since nothing's been announced and you got like a couple months left. So maybe closer to fall, sometime around August, September, something like that. We'll see. But either way, despite all the drawbacks, despite the fact that it's probably going to be super pay to win and have a huge cash shop, despite the fact that it's got likely, almost certainly, an autoplay feature to the game, it's a new MMO. I'm going to want to check it out. I'll keep you up to date as we get any big new information. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the vid, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Yep.
If this is your first time, welcome to Legendary Drop.
I'll read
Throne
a few
and
of the
Liberty
comments
is
for
still...
this too, and just kind of see what it says. Did you know on Vicus' lore, she turns men she lures into desire into succubuses or other succubuses? Only seldom she turns them into incubus. Well, I didn't know that, actually. I assumed that she did. That's why the Gate 1 guy was an incubus. But who the fuck knows? Either way, the localization for Lost Ark was literal trash in terms of the voice acting. They could have probably gotten something better on Fiverr. Let's look at a few more of these. And let's see here. I used a good entrance. I was younger. Imagined to be incredibly expressive. MMOs tend to be no different than JRPG grind. Yeah, I mean, again... I think that games like this are what you make of them. If history is any indication, my excitement for this game, it means that it's going to be a total flop. Yep, I think that's about right. This guy's an MMO player for sure. Let's see here. Considering it's April, 0 chance this releases in the first half of this year. Yeah, I mean, like, there's not even been a beta, man. Sacrificing a lot just to get to play with other people who are also playing the same areas as you. I feel like Lost Ark and, like, other MMOs probably do it better where... you're playing an MMO, but there's a lot of things that you can do solo and activities that you can do solo. I think MMOs should focus more on the solo player experience and then have it be a massively multiplayer online world, but not require people to play with each other all of the time. Like, these are two completely different things. You don't have to, like, there's no rule that says that an MMO has to require you to be in a group all of the time to make any progress in a game. I think that's bad. So I do hope that overall they're able to make the game more solo friendly. I don't really care about there being autoplay. It doesn't really matter. Like, Tower of Fantasy had autoplay, and I think that if I was going to list the top 50 problems with Tower of Fantasy, autoplay wouldn't even be on that list. Okay? So I don't really think it matters, but I do think there's a weird paradox of content where if content is so easy and so brain dead that you can do it with autoplay, why does it even exist in the first place? So there is that. Also, what was the other thing? Being on mobile, I think that's good. Giving people ways to play the game on mobile, I think, is fine. Obviously, it's probably play with these people at your own risk, however. And it should probably tell people if you're on mobile, if you're playing with them. That way you don't accidentally play with somebody who's playing on a subway and they go in a tunnel and you're raiding with them and then they go offline. So that would definitely suck. Other than that, let's see, what were the other things? Cash Shop. Now, I think Cash Shop will probably have a lot of the same stuff that BDO had on release. Pets that loot things for you, gear that gives you more experience, and like a couple of other advantages, and maybe some pay to win, but probably something like the Crystalline Aura. And I doubt that there's going to be very hard uncapped pay to win on release, at least. I doubt that's going to happen, but I am fully willing. I'm not 100% certain on that. I just don't think it's going to happen. That doesn't mean that it's impossible in my mind for it to happen. I think it absolutely could happen, especially afterwards. Do you think it's possible ever to get back to a box cover plus a sub? No, because the market doesn't demand that. The truth is that WoW tested the waters on that in 2008. Or 2000, no, was it 2009, 2008? I don't remember. Where they added the fucking spectral horse into the game. And people bought it. Like, you, as the customer, have all the power. But the problem is that gaming is so big and it's such a mainstream activity that there's no way for people to have any sort of like meaningful change for what a game's monetization is. Like, the real reason why people stop playing pay-to-win games is usually because they're bad. It's not because they're pay-to-win. It's because they're fucking bad. You have the Sunpet Tower, you share it? Yeah, but like you don't really though, because there's like millions of other people. And also like the problem too is that if you have $5 and you bought the game, okay, well let's say you spend $1 on the game or $100 on the game. Well, a person that spent $10,000 on the game is effectively voting 100 times more than you are. So their vote is worth literally 100 times more than yours because it's money. So that's the problem, and that's why these games keep getting made this way. It's because the very small like pinnacle of players that wail on these games finance the entire fucking genre. It's a very sad reality, yeah. You're wrong. There, we stop playing it because it's not fun. Well, that's literally what I just said. Yeah, absolutely. And the truth is that players accept monetization in games. If every player, for example, in Lost Ark, and I told people this whenever they had that Phaon issue, I said if Lost Ark players had any backbone, they would all collectively stop playing the game until Phaons are removed from the game. Nobody did it. Well, that's what you get. Because the truth is that if they had done that, if every player, you know, like or 90% of the player base had immediately stopped playing the game because of Phaons, Amazon would have put out a press release that day. They would have said, we are so sorry. We are getting rid of them immediately. That's the truth. Yeah, the players have all the power. Who gives a fuck about Phaons? I mean, like, well, who gives a fuck about them? Why do they exist? Yeah, I mean, think about this. Sees pay to win, instantly uninstalling. Well, the thing is, like, a lot of people are very, I think they have, like, a very self-centered view on this. Because they say, oh, I unsubscribed from the game, and I don't play this game. Okay, great. You're not playing the free-to-play game. Who gives a shit? There's 100 other people that are, and one of them is spending $1,000. So who do you think the developer's going to listen to? The person who's going to immediately stop playing the game anytime they try to monetize it, or the person who can't get enough of it and keeps spending money? Come on. Consumer activism almost exclusively never works. Yeah, that's right. It never does. Let me link you guys this video. This is a great video. Force Gaming makes great. He's actually almost has 1 million subscribers. Holy shit. He'll probably hit it by the time Diablo 4 comes out, because he'll probably make a lot of videos for that. I'll give the video a like. It's good to see this.